A recent study revealed that nearly 40% of people report feeling anxiety or discomfort when they experience moments of true happiness. This surprising statistic begs the question, why do we fear something that we supposedly desire? Could it be that the fear of happiness is more prevalent than the fear of death? Let's explore this intriguing psychological phenomenon. The concept of fearing happiness might seem counterintuitive. After all, happiness is often portrayed as the ultimate goal in life. We strive for it, dream about it, and even measure our success by it. Yet, there's a growing body of evidence suggesting that many people are uncomfortable with happiness, often sabotaging their own joy. This fear of happiness, known as cherophobia, is a real and complex psychological issue. In contrast, the fear of death or thanatophobia is well documented and widely understood. It's a primal fear rooted in our survival instincts. But what if our fear of happiness is just as powerful, if not more so? What if the very thing we chase is the thing we secretly dread? The central challenge here is understanding why many people sabotage their happiness or feel uncomfortable with it. Why do we shy away from joy and contentment, and how does this compare to our fear of death? Consider this scenario. You've just received a promotion at work, a dream you've been chasing for years. Instead of feeling elated, you find yourself anxious, wondering what could go wrong, or feeling guilty for your success. This is not an uncommon reaction. Many people experience a sense of unease when they achieve happiness, often leading them to self-sabotage. On the other hand, the fear of death is more straightforward. It's a fear of the unknown, of losing control, of ceasing to exist. It's a fear that drives us to take precautions, to seek safety and security. But the fear of happiness is more insidious. It's a fear that can prevent us from fully embracing life, from taking risks, and from experiencing the joy that we claim to desire. To understand why happiness can be intimidating, we need to delve into the psychology of happiness and fear. One theory suggests that our fear of happiness is rooted in our fear of loss. We fear that if we allow ourselves to be truly happy, we will have more to lose. This fear can be traced back to our evolutionary past, where survival depended on being vigilant and prepared for the worst. Another theory posits that our fear of happiness is a result of societal and cultural conditioning. In many cultures, happiness is seen as a fleeting and fragile state, something that can be easily taken away. This belief can make us wary of happiness, viewing it as a precursor to inevitable sadness or loss. For example, in some cultures, there's a belief in the evil eye, where too much happiness or good fortune can attract negative attention or envy, leading to misfortune. This belief can make people hesitant to express or enjoy their happiness openly. Moreover, happiness often requires vulnerability and openness, which can be daunting. To be truly happy, we must let down our guards, embrace uncertainty, and risk disappointment. This vulnerability can be terrifying, especially in a world that often values strength and invulnerability. Consider the case of a person who has experienced significant trauma or loss. For them, happiness can be a reminder of what they've lost, triggering feelings of guilt or sadness. They may fear that allowing themselves to be happy is a betrayal of their past experiences or a sign that they've forgotten their pain. In contrast, the fear of death is often more concrete. It's a fear of physical pain, of leaving loved ones behind, of the unknown. While these fears are valid and powerful, they are also more tangible and easier to understand. The fear of happiness, on the other hand, is more abstract and harder to pin down. The tension between our desire for happiness and our fear of it creates a paradox that can be difficult to navigate. We live in a society that constantly tells us to choose happiness, to follow our bliss, to live our best lives. Yet, when we finally achieve happiness, we find ourselves anxious and uncomfortable. This paradox is perfectly illustrated in the story of the lottery winner. We've all heard the stories of people who win the lottery, only to find their lives spiraling out of control. They suddenly have more money than they know what to do with, but they also have more problems than they ever imagined. They become targets for scams and lawsuits, their relationships become strained, and they often end up more miserable than they were before their windfall. This phenomenon, known as the lottery curse, is a stark reminder of the paradox of happiness. We chase happiness, thinking it will solve all our problems, only to find that it creates new ones. We fear happiness not because we don't want it, but because we don't know how to handle it. Happiness is not a simple, one-dimensional emotion. It's a complex state that encompasses a wide range of feelings, from contentment and satisfaction to joy and euphoria. This complexity can make happiness difficult to navigate. We may feel happy about one aspect of our lives, but anxious or unhappy about another. This can create a sense of cognitive dissonance, where our feelings of happiness are at odds with our feelings of anxiety or unhappiness. Another factor that contributes to our fear of happiness is the expectation of happiness. We live in a society that places a high value on happiness. We're constantly bombarded with messages that tell us we should be happy, that happiness is the ultimate goal in life. This can create a sense of pressure and expectation that can be difficult to live up to. We may feel like we're not allowed to be unhappy, like we're failing if we're not constantly happy. This can lead to a fear of happiness, as we worry that we won't be able to live up to the expectation of constant happiness. Our fear of happiness can also be rooted in a fear of judgment. We may worry that others will judge us for our happiness, that they will see us as selfish or undeserving. This fear can be especially prevalent in cultures that value humility and modesty. In some cultures, it's considered impolite or boastful to express too much happiness or pride in one's accomplishments. This can make people hesitant to express or enjoy their happiness openly, for fear of being judged or criticized. The key insight here is that happiness requires vulnerability and openness, which can be daunting. This paradox highlights the complexity of our relationship with happiness. We desire it, yet we fear it. We chase it, yet we sabotage it. This fear of happiness is not just a quirk of human psychology. It's a fundamental aspect of our existence. Think about it. When was the last time you felt truly happy? Did you embrace that feeling wholeheartedly? Or did you find yourself waiting for the other shoe to drop? Did you allow yourself to be fully present in that moment? Or did you start planning for the future, worrying about what could go wrong? This fear of happiness is not just about the fear of loss or the fear of vulnerability. It's also about the fear of change. Happiness often brings with it significant changes, new responsibilities, new expectations, new challenges. These changes can be overwhelming, especially if we're not prepared for them. Moreover, happiness can be a reminder of our own mortality. It can make us acutely aware of the fleeting nature of life, of the fact that all good things must come to an end. This awareness can be terrifying, especially if we're not ready to face our own mortality. One of the most daunting aspects of happiness is its impermanence. We know that happiness is a fleeting state, that it can be taken away at any moment. This knowledge can create a sense of anxiety and discomfort, making it difficult to fully embrace our happiness. We may find ourselves constantly worrying about what could go wrong, about what could take our happiness away. This can lead to a sense of hypervigilance, where we're always on guard, always preparing for the worst. Another aspect of our fear of happiness is the fear of disappointment. We may worry that our happiness won't live up to our expectations, that it won't be as good as we imagined. This can create a sense of hesitation and reluctance, making it difficult to fully embrace our happiness. We may find ourselves holding back, not allowing ourselves to fully invest in our happiness. This can create a self-fulfilling prophecy, where our fear of disappointment actually leads to disappointment. The fear of happiness is not just an abstract concept. It has real and tangible impacts on our lives. It can prevent us from pursuing our dreams, from building meaningful relationships, from living life to the fullest. In the workplace, the fear of happiness can manifest as imposter syndrome, where we doubt our abilities and accomplishments, fearing that we'll be exposed as frauds. It can lead to burnout as we push ourselves to work harder and harder, never allowing ourselves to enjoy the fruits of our labor. In our personal lives, the fear of happiness can lead to self-sabotage, as we push away the people we love, fearing that they'll leave us or that we'll lose them. It can lead to anxiety and depression, as we constantly worry about what could go wrong, never allowing ourselves to enjoy what's going right. But what if we could overcome our fear of happiness? What if we could embrace joy and contentment without anxiety or guilt? What if we could live life to the fullest, taking risks and pursuing our dreams without fear of failure or loss? The power of overcoming our fear of happiness lies in the transformation it can bring to our lives. It can open up new possibilities, new experiences, new connections. It can allow us to live more authentically, to pursue our passions, to build deeper and more meaningful relationships. One of the most powerful tools for overcoming our fear of happiness is the practice of mindfulness. Mindfulness is the ability to be fully present in the moment, without judgment or distraction. It allows us to embrace our feelings of happiness, without worrying about what could go wrong or what could take our happiness away. Mindfulness can help us to recognize and challenge our fears and anxieties, to see them for what they are, just thoughts and feelings, not reality. It can help us to let go of our fears and to fully embrace our happiness. Another powerful tool for overcoming our fear of happiness is the practice of gratitude. Gratitude is the ability to recognize and appreciate the good things in our lives, to focus on what we have rather than what we lack. It allows us to embrace our happiness, without worrying about what could go wrong or what could take our happiness away. Gratitude can help us to shift our focus from fear and anxiety to joy and contentment. It can help us to recognize the abundance in our lives, to see the good in every situation. It can help us to let go of our fears and to fully embrace our happiness. Finally, one of the most important tools for overcoming our fear of happiness is the practice of self-compassion. Self-compassion is the ability to treat ourselves with kindness and understanding, to recognize our own suffering and to respond with care and concern. It allows us to embrace our happiness without judging ourselves or feeling guilty. Self-compassion can help us to recognize that we are worthy of happiness, that we deserve to be happy. It can help us to let go of our fears and to fully embrace our happiness. In conclusion, the fear of happiness is a complex and multifaceted psychological phenomenon. It's a fear rooted in our evolutionary past, in our cultural beliefs, and in our personal experiences. It's a fear that can prevent us from fully embracing life, from taking risks, and from experiencing the joy that we claim to desire. Understanding this fear is crucial. It allows us to recognize the barriers that prevent us from achieving true happiness. It allows us to challenge our beliefs and assumptions about happiness. It allows us to embrace vulnerability and openness, to take risks, and to live life to the fullest. So, do we secretly fear happiness more than death? The answer is not straightforward. Both fears are powerful and pervasive, shaping our behaviors and our experiences. But while the fear of death is often more tangible and easier to understand, the fear of happiness is more insidious, more abstract, and more complex. Ultimately, the key to overcoming our fear of happiness lies in understanding it. It lies in recognizing the barriers that prevent us from embracing joy and contentment. It lies in challenging our beliefs and assumptions about happiness. And it lies in embracing vulnerability and openness, in taking risks, and in living life to the fullest. So, let's not be afraid of happiness. Let's not shy away from joy and contentment. Let's embrace life, take risks, and live every moment to the fullest. After all, as the saying goes, happiness is not something ready-made. It comes from your own actions. And perhaps, just perhaps, the greatest action we can take is to face our fear of happiness head-on, to embrace it, and to transform our lives in the process. Remember, happiness is not a destination, but a journey. It's not something that we achieve once and then hold on to forever. It's something that we cultivate, that we nurture, that we choose every day. So choose happiness. Choose to embrace joy and contentment, without anxiety or guilt. Choose to live life to the fullest, taking risks and pursuing your dreams, without fear of failure or loss. Choose to overcome your fear of happiness, and watch as your life transforms in the process. After all, as the great philosopher Aristotle once said, happiness is the meaning and the purpose of life, the whole aim and end of human existence. So, let's make happiness our aim, our purpose, our meaning. Let's choose happiness, and let's live our lives to the fullest.